now is Tema Energy and Processing Limited. It's the same people. The directors has not changed.
So you want the appointing
we want
authority?
the deal off the table. If the president is interested, we the workers are not interested.
Right, so these have been the concerns of the workers of Tema Oil Refinery. They are asking the appointing authorities to immediately dissolve the board. Otherwise, they will be taking further actions. Reporting from the TOR here in Tema, my name is Carlos Caloni for Joy News.
Also, the concerns are growing as the union says they would not back down on their demands. It's time now to expand the conversation and look at possibly ways of probing this and also bringing a resolution to the matter. Joining us via Zoom now is Dr. Yusuf Suleimana. He's an energy policy strategist and also CEO of Eureka Energy Solutions. Also joining the conversation is Jojo Kumson. He's the local chairperson for the Professional and Managerial Staff Union of the GPTCWU workers of TOR who are on protest. We'll be hearing from more of them, but Jojo, it's such a pleasure to have you in studio. We saw most of your members there out in solidarity with you, the leadership, and your message is one. You want, first of all, transparency.
Yes, please.
And then the board must be dissolved.
Yes.
That's too extreme. Why not call for the solution, actually?
No, there can't be a solution because they are determined, they are resolute, they have taken an entrenched position. They are micromanaging TOR management. The day-to-day administration of the refinery has been hijacked by these board entities, and they are dictating to the MD what he should do.
But when you say that, what's the evidence? Because you would always be subjected to
the
that.
evidence are all around us.
Right.
There are so many instances that there are decisions that had to be taken by management that the board had told them, don't do it until we give you clearance. These are not in the purview of the board. The board mandate is completely different from that of management. The board sought to own the management, for which reason Pinton, board manager, has always been doing this. There are so many. Centio brought a proposal for tank arrangement. Right. They told the then MD, Hinson, not to proceed on it until his mandate was to notify the board so he can go ahead. The board says, no, you are not here to notify us. You are here to seek our approval before you go ahead with it. And we're like, I mean, how?
Okay, here's what we need to do. Because a lot of people listening to us now need to understand, you know, what the possible impact of this arrangement is. Just break this down for us. What's the arrangement? Why are we hearing of percentages, 40% to Torrentco, to some other people? Just a breakdown of this arrangement as we have.
This is simple. Yeah. The board were mandated when they were being commissioned to seek for a strategic partner. Right. They have been myopic and concentrated on one entity, Torrentco. It has been metamorphosing its name, changing as and when issues are found with them, they change their name and they come out the same way. Now they are of the name Tema Energy and Processing Limited. Now no longer Torrentco.
Okay, right.
Now, when they were incorporating this entity at the Registrar General, yes, they decided to diversify or broaden its share base. So Torrentco now owns 40% in this new entity. Card Holdings owns 40% in this entity. And then their cohort or surrogate in another union executive that have been championing their cause. They put a team together, create a new entity by name Tema TOR, by name TOR Workers Charity Trust, and gave them 20% of the new entity's shares. Meanwhile, they did not revert to the company. Nobody in the entity TOR knows of this. These were secrets until we uncover it recently. Just like we've been making all attempts to get access to information that speaks to the transparency of the transaction that is ongoing. When we stumble on this, that 20% shares of this Tema Energy and Processing Limited has been allocated to TOR Workers Charity Trust.
But I'm sorry,
an entity that doesn't exist.
This is a legal entity. Why do you have a challenge with it?
Which is a legal entity?
The new trust that will be allocated the 40%.
Legal entity that is shrouded with conflict of interest.
That's your opinion.
Not my opinion. This is technical. This is business.
Right.
This
so come through with that.
Okay, so you want TOR to be leased to you for 6 years.
Right.
Now, TOR workers have been perusing your documentation and are raising issues concerning your credibility and your capacity. Now, you go behind as an investor. not recognizing the establishment TOR and go back and lure workers and say that we are giving you 20%. This is after the obvious. You have not been leased the plant. You don't have it yet, but you are telling them that we are giving you 20%.
But it's common business practice, isn't it?
No, it's not.
To try and engage
so
before you're giving the deal.
You could only do this when you are the majority shareholder. Right. You are floating your stock. You can give workers the option to own the shares. Right. Now, if you are telling them before the obvious that you are giving them 20% shares, invariably you are inducing them. You are buying their conscience so they cannot reason. Now, when workers see money, they lose consciousness. No, the criticality of perusing your document will be defaulted because now they will not be critical again. They are going to look at their selfish interests and what is in it for the workers and not TOR.
As leaders of the group, is there any suspicion you have about the possible names behind this company or this trust, a reason for which you're doing what you're doing, except to say you can't put out names?
What we are doing now is purely going through our mandate as executive.
Yeah, but my question is direct. Do you suspect that there are some individuals within TOR or in government or wherever they might be who haven't seen hands in what's happening now?
The board itself now has been hijacked by three individuals. The board chairman, Mr. Adomako, Mr. Pentin, and Mrs. Sapara-Grant. Now, what they are doing is that they double as surrogates to Torrentco. So everything that they do, they are one and the same. It's just that this group of people are in the board, and then there are other actors fronting as Torrentco. Now, if you look at the incorporation of these two entities, they were done on the same day. It could be coincidental, granted, but they were done on the same day. And they hid it, this is board, they hid it from everybody. If it was born out of good intention and good purpose for the workers, what you do is that this is not a union matter. This is a human resource issue. Executive management had to look at the merit of this offer, trickle it down through the general manager HR, look at the modality across the workforce base, and then you look at how you are going to structure this. This was not done. If it was good intention, this is the procedure that they must follow. But because it was born out of malice and corrupt intentions, that's why they hid it from even general managers. The MD, the sitting MD says that he came to meet it. He doesn't know how it was constituted. Nobody in the refinery can speak to it but 5 people who are now directors and beneficiaries of this new incorporated entity.
Okay, let me hear from Dr. Yusuf Suleiman, who's also joining us via Zoom. Doc, you're listening to the argument of the workers now. Is this something which is legitimate? Some say, well, it's part of the usual, concerns that workers will raise anytime these changes happen. What do you think?
Yeah, thank you, Blessed, and good afternoon to you and your charity viewers and my good friend in your studio there. I'm just speechless, Blessed, to just put it lightly. I'm so disappointed with what is happening in TOR now. I mean, we were looking at getting a strategic partner, to partner with TOR. So when the name started springing up, if I went to Ronco came up in the initial stages, I supported it. I said, whichever partner that is coming to be able to partner with TOR and to let the refinery run, the core business should come online. Let's say it should come on stream. The refinery should run. Fast forward, we saw a lot of development with respect to this Toronco deal, and like what he mentioned, the name keeps changing one way or the other. Now, granted that even all that, I noticed that what is the problem here is transparency. Transparency has eluded them. I mean, you cannot do such a crucial deal and you cannot bring the workforce on board. That is bound to fail from the beginning. So I find it unfortunate because we were always championing the fact that TOR is key to our energy security, and that's a fact. That's undoubted. That cannot be contested.
Right.
But this is the case that the refinery, even itself within the workforce, there are issues. So what I would say is that, I mean, I in a way support what the what the union member is saying. I mean, what the union leader is saying there. One of the major issues of the refinery is interference, both inside and outside. And I always say that the outside interference interference is the bulk of everything. See, if we want the refinery to run and run efficiently, then we have to be able to ensure that we appoint a managing director who will work closely with the refinery worker seamlessly. But this is not the case. This is a case that the board is directly moving in one direction, and then the workforce is moving in another direction. And what we understand is that just few of the workforce is supporting the board or whatever, and carrying out these activities. And that's so unfortunate. So if the government has very good intention for the refinery, it is simple. Appoint a credible leader. Let the leader make sure that you give the leader key deliverables, KPIs that I want to achieve. And one KPI that I always say is that let the refinery run. That's the only measure. If the refinery cannot run and all this is happening, then I find it very unfortunate. Blessed, we are talking about a deal that has not even come to fruition. The refinery has not run. Now people are fighting over shares. That is not acceptable. Our core business should be to ensure that the refinery runs. Now, this deal now that it is enshrouded with a lot of uncertainties and this opacity, then I will directly call on the government to ensure that if they want Toronto to work and work well, they should bring the workforce on board. Whatever hidden details that are there, see, even if you don't have anything to hide, if you don't have anything to hide, yet you are not so transparent in whatever dealings that we have, you are bound to have problems, and that's what is happening. So I think it's unfortunate, and the high time they unravel that, the better. The interference has to stop and stop for good.
Okay, gentlemen, just hold on for me, because we've been getting some reaction to these concerns from the chairman of the Senior Staff Association of TOR, who's describing the concerns of the aggrieved junior staff as baseless. Well, he's been speaking to my colleague Carlos Caloni earlier today. Just listen.
Fund without involving the Junior Staff Association.
Okay, Carlos, thank you so much. I have not done anything as such. It is the partners that incorporated a trust fund for workers. And this trust fund is coming because they are looking at giving their own shares. This has nothing to do with TOR. It has nothing to do with the board. And if their partnership is approved, they are saying that they will want to use 20% of their shares to develop a trust fund for all workers. The brain behind this is that they feel if workers have a sense of ownership, if there are certain things that are not going on at any point in time, workers will volunteer information so that at least we can be able to stop any other issues that is affecting the company's profitability. In that sense, if you know that if we stop it and the profit increase, then the trust fund will yield more, and then you will also be able to benefit. So that is the essence. And so the partners formed it. The rank and file is represented on it. The managers class is on it. The senior staff category, which has the certificate, the reps on it. The junior staff, the rep is on it. So it's the board, and it's a part of the registration process. This has nothing to do with the TOR management or even the board.
So let's get a clarity. It is until the Toronto deal goes through.
Exactly. Exactly. Until the Toronto deal goes through, the trust fund does not even exist. Okay, the trust fund does not exist, and this is a trust fund for all workers, and it's going to be managed by workers, and the board will be engaging workers as to what projects that the trust fund should be applied towards. And then when it is agreed and voted by majority, then that decision becomes a mandate on the board. And
okay, so the position of the senior staff there, just hold on, let this be ready, and then we can talk. It's in your interest.
Okay, so it's very interesting. He's speaking.
You're surprised at what he's saying?
Because who did the partners speak to? All the issues that he's outlining, who did the partner communicated this to? Is it management? Did they hold workers there back?
Are you telling me that as a leading member of this worker union, you have not been engaged?
I am a researcher. Send any of your reporters to the refinery. Yeah. Let them randomly ask any worker whether they have ever heard of TOR Workers Charity Trust in the plant.
That's not my question. Have you been engaged?
No.
About the possibility and the benefits that will come with this?
It is. We are hearing for the first time from him. He is a worker in the refinery. We are hearing it for the very first time, this detail from him. How did he get it? He's a worker. Who spoke to him? Is it the board or the partner? On what forum? Which platform? These are the questions that he should be answering. We have been saying from day one that he and his cohort have been compromised long time. Having meetings here and there with partners, that's not our locals. As a union executive, you don't deal with partners. You will be compromised. You stand in the middle because your interest is the health of the refinery and not partners.
Okay, the likelihood is that if all these things do not go well, TOR will be affected. And it's part of the long trajectory that the organization has always had. Malfunctioning everywhere. And of course, the belief is we want it to work again. What's the next line of action for your group? You have the opportunity to petition the Attorney General. You have the opportunity to engage the Office of the Special Prosecutor. Yoko is there. What do you intend to do?
We are going to exhaust every avenue because we have all the documentation regarding Torrentco and their names that they keep changing. The due diligence report that was done about them says they don't have the capacity, they don't have the credibility. Now, you might not have this, but you might have other entities that support you with this capacity and credibility. They have not produced one. The PPP has asked them, the PPA directed them to go to PPP at Ministry of Finance. As I speak to you now, they have not stepped there. 5-6 months down the line. They are wasting our time by changing names. It's not important. The real crux of the issue is at PPP. So carry all their documents and go there and justify whether they have what it takes. They have the license. They have the technical capacity. If you don't have it, it's accepted. Who are you relying on? Who is your backbone regarding your financial strength or capacity and your technical capacity? Provide that. That's all the simple questions we ask.
Do you
We are not
might be going home?
Come again?
You fear your members might be going home?
Not going home. Our members are highly skilled. They are highly sought after.
Right.
Those who have remained in the refinery, I can tell you how many, more than 80 people have left the refinery this year alone.
Really?
So we are highly sought after our skills. And so that's not the issue. The only few people that are around is because of their passion and what they know.
And I'm sure you've heard the argument. The fact that you're scared you might lose your job.
No.
A reason for which you are all out already.
No. Our fear is that if we are not very careful, certain individuals might take hostage of the refinery to their personal gain. When we go as leaders and sleep and not act, the thought that I could have done A, B, C, D, knowing the data in front of me that I didn't do and allow this to happen. It's not me. Refinery belongs to the entire country. It has economic repercussions to the economic state of the state.
Yeah.
And so tomorrow's generation is why we are doing this, not for ourselves. So that the refinery that I came to meet, that has been in existence from 1963, will be there for other generations to come and meet and ply their trade.
Okay, Dr. Yusuf Suleiman, the point about policy, where do we go from here? What would you expect from government immediately?
Yeah, so it's straightforward. It's pretty simple. If you look at what is happening now, I mean, it's not very surprising. We have a refinery that is there, and for the last 5 years, they have changed more than 5 managing directors, yet the refinery is not running. So it tells you that it's a playground for what in quotes, some business moguls or mafias or whatever. When the refinery is not running, why do you have to keep changing the managing directors like that? That is not acceptable. So that's the core of these issues. See, if you have a robust management in place with what I spoke to you, I mean what I spoke earlier on, I mean with key deliverables handed down to the management and give them targets to achieve within a time frame, all this will not resolve. But if we have porous management structure, management structure that is currently existing, they keep changing, up and down, that is not acceptable. So going forward, what I would urge the government to do, if they want the refinery to run, 2 things. They should minimize interference as much as possible. Even if you appoint board, give them KPIs. If they are not able to deliver that, kick them off and get people who can do the job.
There's the question about, okay, you just land on the second factor you'd want us to consider, then I'll come through with that question.
Yeah, so the second factor is efficiency, and I think it's linked to the first factor.
Yeah.
Indeed, we do have inherent inefficiencies in the refinery that cannot be taken. And you can clearly see that this will one union member talking one thing, and another union. Refinery itself, they have to be cohesive in terms of their leadership style. This is the first that, they have broken through their ranks. And that's one of the big issues. But I think all this is the result of the external weight that is falling on the refinery. So if I believe that if the external interference is curtailed,
right,
and a robust management is put in place, all this things will be a thing of the past.
But
I think if the government is
the central matter we're unable to, we can't exhaust now, but we need to look at before we end the show for today on this matter, is the company involved, the name we're hearing about, Torrentco. Now it's Torrentco Trust.
No, now it's Tema Energy and Processing Limited.
Yeah, that name. I want you to take your thoughts as well on that.
Yeah, so this all boils down on the credibility. For me, I wouldn't even have any issues. I checked the documents, and it was registered just as in August 2023. I mean, this is not how we do business. Blessed. Even granted that it is recently registered or whatever, I mean, we have to be ensured that we have credibility. Where is the credibility line down here? What is your track record? That is crucial. And I think all this is coming because of the fact that we have limited ourselves to one entity that without Torrentco, this deal will not go through. I don't have anything against Torrentco, but my understanding is that we had other entities who were on board. I heard about Legacy Capital. I heard about another entity, Falcon or whatever. There were 3 entities who were on board. Why don't you compare these 3 entities and get the best out of that? It's not done. So I think all this issue that is popping up is because we have decided to focus on one direction. And so if without that company, maybe the company, TOR cannot run. That is not acceptable. And that's the reason why we are where we are now. So going forward, if they want Torrentco to come and work for TOR, then transparency should be the lead way. If we don't have transparency with respect to Torrentco deals, and very important thing, if whatever concerns that the workforce are putting on the table, it has to be addressed. That is very important. The board has to take interest in that. The government of Ghana has to take interest in that. We can't simply sit down and fold our arms and think that, the refinery workers are fighting among themselves. No, that cannot be. The government has to take responsibility. And the responsibility I expect here is that if Torrentco is to be the scorecard or the main player here, then transparency shouldn't elude them.
Okay.
They should involve the workers in every step that they take. So that, workers should be satisfied in whatever is going on. But I think that is not done, and that's so worrisome, Blessed.
Okay, interesting days ahead, but I want to thank you for spending some time with us, Dr. Yusuf Sulemana. He's an energy strategist, policy strategist, and also the CEO for Eureka Energy Solutions. Let's wrap up with you, Mr. Kumsin, the point about the way forward and what your final appeal would be.
We're pleading with the government. There are more competent people who are in the party for which they pick board members. We need matured, competent people who understand what it takes to be a board member, and not because they belong to a political party. That could be the first criteria, but there should be follow-up criteria that make sure that you go and you perform. That is what we are calling immediate dissolution of this board, because these 2 actors were in the previous board that were scandalous, and then with their incompetency for which they dropped them. For strange reason, why they brought these 2 same individuals here is what we are struggling to deal with. We want the complete dissolution of this board.
Right.
Competency must be seen. People who understand what it takes to be a board member, and not to just micromanage management. There should be a clear cut. Let the board do their policy job as board, right, and allow management to function as management. 1. 2, there should be sanity in the refinery. There should be control in the refinery, so that you cannot do as and when you wish because you have the support from some board members. This is a simple thing that we have put on the table. Thank you.
Grateful, Jojo Kumsin, for speaking to us here on The Pulse, and we'll definitely be keeping our eyes on that and bring you some updates. But it's time now to talk football. Protesters in Accra have actually presented a petition to the Ministry of Youth and Sports this afternoon, hoping to stop the impending Ghana Football Association elections scheduled for tomorrow, and clad in red and black, and also holding some of the placards and highlighting instances they believe have contributed to the regression or retrogression of Ghana football. A group known as the Ghana Football Stakeholders Forum led a demonstration from the Akko J interchange here in Accra through Ringway, moved through past the site of the National Cathedral through to the Accra Sports Stadium, and finally ended up at the Ministry of Youth and Sports. Joyce, sports editor Gary Al Smith, has been there, captured all the moments, and comes through with his report.
We are now near the Snitz Guest House at the Rescue GFA demo, which seeks to draw attention to what they believe are the manipulations, they say, at the Ghana Football Association. They believe that the system is not working in a football way, and this is one of the conveners who will speak to us now. Thank you for joining us on Join News, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right. This your full name?
Samuel Aboa, but they popularly call me Pakwesi.
Pakwesi, Samuel Aboa. For those in the football circles, he's a well-known person. But for the rest of you as well, today he, together with some of his colleagues. So can you give us the names first of all to establish who are the conveners of this demonstration? Yourself and
myself, Nana Mankwakwache, Charles Kojon team, popularly known as Mickey Charles. We are the main people confronting this issue. Why,
in your own words, is this, or has this become necessary?
Yeah, this has become necessary because a whole lot is going on in our football, and I think that it is the best time to tell the world what is happening. Most of the times we sort most of the things within our circles, and Ketekreku has taken advantage of that situation. That's more reason why this time around we have come out to demonstrate to the people of Ghana and the world to know what is actually happening in our football.
Okay. Are there any specific instances of some of these manipulations that you would want to highlight for, for people, especially not in the football circles, to understand?
First of all, you, Gary, just look at our disciplinary issues. A lot has come out. If you are not in the good books of Ketekreku, there's no, regardless of how good your case is, there's no way you will win the case at disciplinary committee. When you go to appeal, it will happen same. And Ketekreku is running football as if he's running Dream Safes. And
that is his own club.
His own club. And some of us think that is not the right way. There should be justice. There should be an open playing ground for all of us, because we all pay affiliation fees. So we don't see the reason why you should treat other clubs like they are not part of the association. That's more reason why we are out today. Ketekreku is very vindictive. Very, very vindictive. Look at the teams that has collapsed. Look at Fire Rangers. Look at Amedaios. Look at Brekum Arsenals. Look at my own team, Secondary Azakes. Look at the Chiman City. And you realize that anybody who is vocal on our issues, Ketekreku makes sure your team is gone down. That's more reason why we want to put stop to some of these things.
Lots of people are joined. I see the man they call the one-man supporter, the legendary one-man supporter. Good morning and welcome to Joy News.
This is local.
Kechi. Mebacho Kechi. Mebacho. Yane Pike Akasa. Adena Moaha.
The tell what I say. Juma a Magana Yani Geno. Yan Heya, the Econo, a bit my basa. A Guswa, and never be able to say. And depending on we are in any opinion, Yabasa or mine, sorry, no, who say. And Rana Effie, Nashishan, somebody at Mana, and Nippon a fantasy. Ah, my Chimamin chin, I have for a Samabano. A man in Yansan has said, send him from Faso Yamasum Jabba. And here, where awareness, Yama or Mana aware, say. As some way, see. Now, come on, someone. You make my sobo. You come on, some in the Syria. You can say, Huyanka. We are who cry. And Utina, yeah, awareness was said. Then whole nation among sorry, no more has said. Yet, my cousin, a 10 day, I can boom one. That's nice one.
One man supporter is basically saying that if they don't let people know about what they perceive to be problems, tomorrow they will be accused of not highlighting the issues, and that's why they are here. They want to highlight the issues for the sake of posterity and for history purposes as well. Now, you might know this face. You might know this face.
Everybody knows.
Yeah, you might know this face. If you've been in the gospel scene for a while, you might know the tune Tabita Kum. That is the man himself. Please, what's your official name?
My official name is Nicholas Omanie Champon.
Nicholas Omanie Champon. There is a name that they used to call you.
Zafanat Pania.
Zafanat Pania.
I have many names anyway.
He has a man with many names. But Sanka, where is Sanka? Your gospel. This is not gospel. Why are you here?
Haven't you heard that Ghana is Christian country? Ghana is gospel nation. Haven't you heard of that?
We have heard.
Good. You see, the way and manner football especially is being run in this country, it's not good. Things are not going on well at all. Because look at the elections that is coming on, that is scheduled to be coming on tomorrow.
Yeah.
Agitations are so much. Troubles, problems, complaints, and what have you. You understand? But I know that before the commencement of this, elections campaign, when the aspirants started their campaign, you and I know very well that the FA boss, that's Mr. Ketokreku, wanted to go unopposed. I hope you know about that. How come? That at the time that football is, down, at the time that we don't have anything to boast
in football,
and the boss of the FA want to go unopposed.
So your reason is that?
My reason is that at the end of the day, when people wanted to, contest him, the most person that is that man, what is the name of Mr. George Friye was disqualified based on the fact that we don't really, get it.
Sure.
So we are demonstrating to the whole world, and especially this country, the leaders must wake up.
Sure.
Otherwise, our brother Ketekreku is taking FA as his personal business, and we disagree with that.
Sure.
They should allow whoever is ready to contest him.
Well, excerpts of what transpired today, but the conversation is on, mainly asking for the GFA election to be put on hold. Let's get more from Muftar Nabila Abdullah, who's joining us, sports journalist, also looking at all of the issues that have come up. Let's talk about the race itself, the election that they want put on hold. The point about what happens if this election is indeed placed on hold. The argument is that you have only Keto Kreku passed for now to stand the elections. If you put it on hold, you're not changing anything.
You're changing a lot of things. You're changing many things based on the fact that George Friye is in court. In fact, he's gone to the Accra High Court Human Rights Division. He says that his human rights have been violated by the Elections Committee and the Appeals Committee of the Ghana Football Association. Right. He's also gone to the Court of Arbitration for Sport to appeal the decision of the Elections Committee to disqualify him from the elections. Mm-hmm. So if you proceed to organize the elections, and should it happen that these legal bodies decide that indeed George Friye was unfairly disqualified, it means that the Ghana Football Association would have to organize the elections all over again. Right. And that's going to be another cost to the Ghana Football Association.
Let's break this down. The individuals jostling for the position of the GFA presidency. We have Keto Kreku, a name we've heard before. George Friye is also not new to this game. Yeah. But for our viewers, those who may not be conversant with the faces, the names involved, just break down the potential of these two individuals who are jostling for the race, actually.
Okay, so if you take it, let me start with George Friye. George Friye, he's been part of the Ghana football politics since 2005. That was after he moved from Gamba All Blacks. He contested for the position of Executive Committee of the Ghana Football Association when they changed the statutes in 2005. And he served in this capacity until he was roped into the Emergency Committee. So prior to the 2019 GFA elections, the statutes were in a way that we had the larger Executive Committee and there was the Emergency Committee. The Emergency Committee were just 5 members, which is the president plus 4 other people. So George Friye was part of the Emergency Committee of the Ghana Football Association. So in 2015, he was made the vice president of the GFA by Kwesi Nyantakyi after the GFA again decided to change their statutes. And the argument then was that at FIFA and CAF, you have the president who is able to determine who becomes his vice president. He wants to work with someone he's very comfortable with. So when that happened, George Free became the vice president of Kwesi
Nyantakyi. Right.
But in April 2018, George Free was removed from this role following a plethora of allegations that he was backstabbing his boss.
And part of the reason also is that he had wanted to be president.
Yeah, and it's actually something that he actually wanted. But one of the things that I spoke to people close to George Free and even to Kwesi Nyantakyi on all these things. And one of the things I got was the fact that George Free felt that Kwesi Nyantakyi had said 3 separate times that he was not going to contest the GFA presidency again.
But then he violated that.
Well, they will tell you that it's only a fool who is not willing to change his mind.
And then comes number 12, right?
Yes, there comes number 12. Number 12
we have
a leeway for everyone to vie for the position of the president because it became very vacant. Yeah. So when they contested the elections, Keto Kriku won. But we should also understand that Keto Kriku is not new to Ghana football. He was with...
and that's the man on our screen now.
He's the man on our screen. And this was the 2019 GFA elections. I see. I remember during his days with Wasserman United, he also worked as administrative manager of the Ghana League Clubs Association, which is the welfare body for league clubs. Then came Dreams FC, where he served as the executive chairman of the club until he was voted president. This is a club he holds 33.3% shares of. There are 3 of them. Yes, there are 3 of them. Keto Kriku, who is now president of the Ghana Football Association. Yes. There's Mohamed Gigi Alifo, who is the president. And there's Prince Hamid, who is the vice president. So all these 3 people, they all hold 33.3% shares of Dreams FC. So when Keto Kriku became GFA president in 2015, he decided to contest for the position of executive council of the Ghana Football Association, and overwhelmingly he won. So he had about 43 of the votes going his way to become executive council member of the GFA in 2015. So he served as the chairman of the MTN FA Cup committee, because this is a competition that had gone into a hiatus for a very long time. And when he came into office as chairman of that committee, I think he did incredibly well in that position. Yes, he organized the 2015 final in Takrady, secondly, SC Stadium, where people were questioning why are you taking Midiama SC and Asante Kotoko to a neutral venue to play the FA Cup final, but it was
massive.
Crazy. I covered that final. I covered the 2016 final, which took place in Cape Coast. Bechem United versus Okoro United. I was there. Then in 2017, they organized the Amixable, which was in Tamale. Another great grand finale between Haas and Asante Kotoko. And then he sat there until the number 12 happened. So in 2018, we were not able to organize the FA Cup because of number 12 and all that. So when the number 12 happened, he was able to lobby his way. He had delegates voting for him to become GFA president. So yeah.
The question about what is changing now, and I'm just looking at the protest we saw a while ago, scores of individuals, and not just footballers or people in the football space. You even have musicians joining this demonstration that we're seeing today. There you have at Rescue, the GFA, Demo, standing up for your right, and so many issues. What has Ket done wrong? I guess that's the question on the minds of everyone.
I think what Ket has done wrong is dependent on who feels impacted by his decisions at the Ghana Football Association. So one thing I can say for sure is that there are many people within the football family who feel that Keto Kriku, his leadership of Ghana football has been quite divisive. They feel that as president of the Ghana Football Association, you've got a responsibility to bring everyone under one umbrella, which is the Ghana Football Association.
But could this not be an after effect of the number 12? The fact that you still have the Nyantakyi side on against the others who feel that something ought to change.
So if anything of that sort happened, when you're going for elections, right? Everyone has got a message, and everyone would try to paint his opponent black so that he wins. And if these things happen, which many people actually felt that there was bad blood along the line, after you won the elections, what do? You need to bring everyone under one umbrella and let them understand that we're all fighting for the betterment of Ghana football. I've been given the mandate by the people. I need your support to get it done. If you bring them to the table and they do not come, that is where you can say that, okay, you brought them on, but they said they didn't do it. But you grant an interview and you say you cannot win an election and work with your enemies. And in fact, I had interviewed him in 2019 where he said something which was quite interesting. He told me that if you work with your enemy could be the person who would give you the best advice on what you have to do. But when he won the elections, he said you cannot win an election and work with your enemy.
Wow,
so people within the football family,
it's actually, just a matter of experiencing firsthand what leadership brings.
Exactly.
On the table.
So many people actually feel that Keto Kreku has not been able, and in fact, there are people who also feel that. Many of the committees at the Ghana Football Association are not as independent as they claim they are, where they feel, in fact, I've had about 30 clubs actually complaining to me about injustice they've suffered under the leadership of Keto Kreku within 4 years. If as many as 30 members of the GFA are complaining to journalists, and I'm not sure I'm the only person they are complaining to, they've complained to many people. So that is actually a big issue.
This was a time, of course, he had the opportunity to vote ostensibly for himself.
Yes.
He's going and he's up for that election again. What are the chances for Keto Kreku this time around?
Oh, but he's going on the post, so there's no chances to talk about. I only think that the decision to proceed to Tamale to organize the elections, despite threats of injunctions on the GFA elections, I think in fact, and I heard Samson explain the last time they were here to talk about Occupy the Jilobi House protest. He said that if the notice of an injunction is not properly filed, that one you have a case to proceed. But if you're properly filed, and he will never advise his client to proceed when your opponent feels that something is happening and that you've been fully served.
Because you need to be cautious.
You need to be very cautious. He will not advise his client to do that. But I think from where the Ghana Football Association sits, maybe their lawyers have told them, proceed and organize the elections. After October 25, there's the likelihood that the GFA presidency and other executive council positions are going to be vacant because your tenure is going to end on October 25. So if by October 25, the court processes do not end, it means that Keto Kreku cannot hold himself as president of the Ghana Football Association, and the executive council members cannot also hold themselves.
And that may be a challenge also.
That may be a challenge. So proceed. Go and organize the elections. Let's fight the other issues after.
Court. So once you're done, what happens? I was asking about the chances of Ket simply because of the requirements constitutionally, what the FA says about the number of votes needed to secure, first of all, the position, and how many years this will be given Ket.
You need 50 plus 1.
Okay, 50 plus 1, then you're done.
You're
From all the football leagues?
124 delegates.
That's the electoral college.
That's the electoral college of the FA. 124 delegates are assembling to vote. I know many members have told me they will not go for that election because they feel that most of the protesters you saw here, they are not going to vote because they feel that the GFA system has been skewed in favor of...
But that will still give him another term.
Yeah, it gives him
how many
years? 4 years.
4 years.
It doesn't change anything. And maybe if George Afriye wins his appeal at CAS, because it is only the Court of Arbitration for Sport that can order the Ghana Football Association to organize the elections again. That is if George Afriye is successful. But if George Afriye is not, we need to...
a classical case of 4 more to do more. but to do what exactly is the question now
to improve
for
the game of
Keto
football.
Kreku.
Keto Kreku feels that Ghana football is in safe hands when he is in charge. And sometimes you would have to agree with him. We came on the back of a very difficult period where the image of Ghana football was in tatters. It was maimed. Number 12 actually sent a very bad signal about the image of Ghana. And in fact, I actually believe the Keto Kreku leadership is still reeling from the impact of number 12. Because when you go to corporate institutions seeking for sponsorship, they will tell you, how credible is your product? So I think that if he's been able to work within the last 3-4 years and he's been able to even convince some people to come and put money into Ghana football, and he's done something. He has MTN giving him about $2 million for the World Cup. As many as 19 sponsors since he came. The fact is, do they have money? The last time I went through their audited accounts, I realized that they had about 40 million Ghana citizens.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. And before he came to that office, the GFA, they were suffering. So I think that people can say that with Keto Kreku, but the other issues where they claim that he's not working in the interest of football, he surrounded himself with family and friends, and he told them, I cannot win an election, come and work for interviews. I think those are the only areas I feel I agree for him. And if he's able to reposition himself and let people understand that we are all here for the betterment of Ghana football. Come and support me to build the brand Ghana football, and you will be a chief beneficiary.
Okay, we need to go move down. The venue for the election
it's happening in Tamale.
Right.
I've forgotten the name of this hotel. That is what happened. But we have our colleague there, Musbah. He'll be there. He'll be giving us loads of details of what is going to be happening on the ground.
And you should always expect the Joy Sports team to bring us the very best of the coverage which is happening in just about 48 or 24 hours?
Just about 24 hours. I'm sure tomorrow by this time we'll have the president.
Yeah, we'll have a new president. Maybe the old one.
We'll have the old president because he's on the post, so he's just going to continue.
Yeah. Thank you, Muftal, for joining us with the latest on this. President Akufo-Addo is warning democracies on the decline in Africa and in particular the West Africa sub-region. This is part of the reasons for which the president says that the world has witnessed an increase in the number of some coup d'etats that we've witnessed in the sub-region, the latest being the Niger situation, where ECOWAS is contemplating some military action. While speaking at the opening ceremony of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Conference underway here in Accra, President Akufo-Addo warned that if all do not rise against the development, more of such coups will happen. Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kweku Asante was there in our report.
There's been at least 4 military takeovers in the last few years in the West Africa sub-region. ECOWAS is currently studying a roadmap to militarily intervene in Niger to restore constitutional order. President Akufo-Addo is alarmed. The trend is on the rise.
Constitutional changes in government in parts of Africa, especially in West Africa, through a series of coups d'etats and military interventions in governance, which testify to democratic regression. It is in the interest of democratic growth that this development is reversed as soon as possible. And in order so to do, that we give maximum support to ECOWAS, the regional body of West Africa, and the African Union, Africa's continental organization, in their efforts to restore democratic institutions in the affected nations of Mali, Burkina Faso, Guinea, Niger, and Gabon.
He's been assuring the international community that Ghana will not renege on its commitment to constitutional governance.
The Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, indeed, the Commonwealth itself, should join ECOWAS and the African Union in demanding the immediate unconditional release from unjustifiable detention of the democratically elected President of the Republic of Niger, His Excellency Mohamed Bazoum. Democracy and the stability that generally accompanies democratic governance are essential for the future prosperity of the African continent. Ghana has remained steadfast in her commitment to upholding the values outlined in the Commonwealth Charter.
The Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, however, believes democratically elected governments sometimes contribute to their own removal.
This year, we celebrate 30 years of stable parliamentary democracy. Ours is a stable democracy in a sub-region that has in recent times developed a notoriety for reversing and backsliding on its democratic journey. Parliaments in the sub-region and in Africa in particular must try to understand the reasons for the loss of trust and confidence in the leadership of democratic processes and institutions that has characterized the recent spate of disruptions of constitutional order and constitutionalism in the continent. But it's important for us to note that these disruptions are always started by the civilian regimes themselves. They are those who go against the dictates of their own constitution and the mandate of the people and invite others to take over. We should be able to pick the signals, should there be any, and to steer our democracies away from such incidents in future.
In related matters, meanwhile, President Akufo-Addo has been reiterating his demand for a reform of international institutions and demand for reparation for slave trade.
The reform of the institutions of global governance, particularly the United Nations and its Security Council, to make them more representative and reflective of contemporary realities. And secondly, the agreement of the European nations who sponsored the barbaric and inhuman transatlantic slave trade, to the payment of compensation and reparations to the descendants of the victims of this horrific experience, especially as the slave owners, unlike the slaves, were compensated when the trade was abolished.
The Commonwealth Parliamentary Conference will conclude on Friday in Accra and is the first time Ghana is hosting the conference. It has brought together MPs and speakers from all Commonwealth countries. The conference will deliberate on matters to do with strengthening parliamentary oversight, among other key details. For Joy News, Kweku Asante, Conference Center, Accra.
Also, the debate is on as to what this group of parliamentary representatives would have to do to strengthen the network and building a core that will sustain the trajectory of democratic governance across the sub-region and also the African continent. Joining me now is Richard Kumado, a security consultant, of course, spending some time with us to look at the statement of the president. Richard, the president indicating there that if nothing is done, if we all don't rise, more coups might be happening in the coming days. Is he speaking based on intelligence, perhaps?
No, I think I would rather prefer what the Speaker of Parliament said as compared to what the President said. Remember, the President was just the previous ECOWAS chairman. During his term, there were 2 coups d'etats in Burkina Faso and 2 coups d'etats in Mali. The new one had a first test of Niger. The President also had a privilege of witnessing the coup d'etat in Guinea. If that is not a leadership failure, then we don't know what it takes. It might be interesting to ask the president, even in the West Africa regime, how many of these leaders were brought to power through the voting process, which is one key area of democracy? How many of them have extended their reign in office by extending the democratic rules that brought in the constitution? How many of these leaders brought in instances and issues that were affront to the constitution? Were they causes for the coup d'etats? Have they been able to find a clue why those coup d'etats occurred? I think most of the things he said were very reactive and they were not responding to the many things that led to the coup d'etat. If you juxtapose that to what the Speaker of Parliament said, you can't really understand that it was the doings of some of these leaders who have been elected politically, democratically, who went against the constitution that invited some other people to come in. Why do we say that? In the case of Gabon, it wasn't a coup d'etat, it was a military takeover. In the case of Niger, it wasn't a coup d'etat, it was a military takeover. And it's important to distinguish the role of what it means by being a coup d'etat and what it is when the military has taken over.
And what you have now, representatives of various parliaments across not just Africa, but the Commonwealth. This is a very opportune moment to send that message across to the political class, especially those on the African continent. What type of engagements would you want to see taking place at this very crucial conference where many are gathered, potentially persons who have some level of control to stabilize the region?
Now, I think one of the things the African Union must do quickly going forward is to establish a standby unit, not a military unit, but a standby unit where they have people who really understand the changing times in democracy, people who really understand geopolitics and how it affects the dynamics of leadership in Africa, people who will really put themselves at the forefront to engage political leaders in the Africa region. That is to say that if we do not do things properly, which are enshrined in the constitutions we set for ourselves, and govern the people by those democratic tendencies, then there is also the risk of others taking arms against us. And blessed, it will be interesting to know that it's not just the militaries who caused coup d'etat in Africa. The politicians who got to power by their actions have created scenarios that were affront to the constitutions, and that is also a coup d'etat. One of the other things they must do is to have those frank discussions among themselves and to look around Africa in general, ask themselves, the 54 countries in Africa, which of these ones were having difficulties that may lead to a coup d'etat, and that could be a critical sign of a red flag, and work themselves across it so that they were able to affect it even before the coup d'etat occurs. And the typical example is the the Gabon issue. They saw the signs in 2016. They never did anything about it. And they saw the signs when they were going for the elections that this is a red flag that may create problems. And yet, when observers across Africa and Europe were banned from attending the democratic process of voting the next president, they never raised the red flag until the military was asked to take over. I think they will need to have frank leadership discussions among themselves and beginning to identify what are the challenges on the African continent, particularly those ones that may lead to a coup d'etat. And once they are able to resolve them beforehand, then we will say that these are leaders who are well prepared to take Africa to the next level. Other than that, they have a long way to go.
In a nutshell, you agree with the president indicating that democracy is on the decline?
Yeah, to some extent, but to every cause there's a root cause, to every cause there's an effect. He came into politics, elected as a president, democratically, voted for. We have issues of 12 people being shot in Techima South. He never commented on it. You have another election next year. You don't think you are wetting the grounds where people could take the law into their own hands. And these are all pillars of democracy. Where we borrow this democracy from, this issue would have been investigated and people would have been asked to step down or pay for the crimes they have committed. He has a duty and a responsibility to lead. And I don't think he's leading in the right direction when it comes to democratic principles in some other areas in our governance systems in Africa. And so to hear him speak in that manner, I think people might have issues with levels of the things he said, and it would be better to benchmark rather what the Speaker of Parliament said, since this is a parliamentary conference based on Commonwealth principles in Accra. And so let's go to parliamentary side and leave the governance for which our president is a key person in Africa.
Grateful. Richard Kumado, security consultant, joining us
Thank you.
Here on The Pulse. Here again, and we're asking the question, will Presec Legon make it to their final moment of garnering some 8 more trophies, or another school will clinch the bragging rights of that journey, which is beginning to find this year's champion of the National Science and Maths Quiz, beginning today with the arrival of participating schools. 117 schools are expected to be on the campus of the KNUST within the next 2 days ahead of the prelim stage of the national tournament. 3-time champions and Peter's SHS, the Chimota School, and Wesley Girls will this year begin their campaign from the prelim stage after losing their seeded spots last year. Jacqueline Ansama Yaboa has the rest of the story because she's been interacting with some of the school students who have been arriving on the KNUST campus.
It's that time where all the schools converge at one place for the National Science and Maths Quiz. We are right here at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, where we have about 56 schools arriving for the preliminary contest of the 2023 edition of the National Science and Maths Quiz. So let's have an interaction with most of the students who are arriving today to get to know the expectations, how far and how well they have prepared for this contest.
Me here, I have students from St. Monica's Secondary School. Hello, ladies. How are you?
Yeah, fine. Thank you.
You look like you're shy. You're here starting with the preliminaries. How well are you prepared for it? I'll start with you.
We are well prepared and we are just hoping for the best because we have been learning throughout for almost 3 years now, and then we are hoping that it will come out well for us.
All right. But my big question, any school here that you see as a threat to the competition that you're about to contest for? Because sometimes you'd be like, hey, this school is like, we might not be able to conquer them. But let me know, which school do you think is a threat to you?
Well, for me, it's Yellow Kobo, but we are hoping that...
Yellow Kobo. Why Yellow Kobo?
Looking at their performance at the regional championship, they did really well. They were very impressive. It's kind of like a threat.
A threat to you. All right, what about you? Do you think it's so Yellow Kobo?
Yes.
Okay, what about you?
Okay, me, I don't really have a threat in terms of the schools. I believe we are going to face the questions. So if the questions are suitable for us, then we are winning. We don't have any threat.
I've got a couple of them. It's not a couple. All the contestants are here. So can you tell me your name? I'll start with you.
Butchie Bright.
Bright and?
James Guest.
And?
Steven.
Okay. Can you give it to him? Steven. All right. So how has it been for you so far? Last year you got to the preliminary stage. You got knocked out. This year you were back. What is different this time around? Let me start with you.
Oh, we are hoping you should qualify from the prelims to 1/8 or quarterfinals. That's why we are here.
Not the main finale. You don't want to qualify for the main finale.
Oh, if by the God grace we qualify there, we will thank that God who helped us.
Okay. You contested 3 years ago. How was it for you? How has it been? Wait, how has life been for you? Normal. It didn't come with any pressure and all that.
No.
But what were some of the lessons that you learned? Which was 3 years ago?
2 years.
2 years ago, 2021. So how has it been for you so far?
Actually, it was the first time for the school. So preparation wasn't all that easy. Yeah, so but we did our best by qualifying from the zone.
Now, yeah, at least was that your first time?
Yes, please.
And then that was quite a pressure on you, wasn't it? Or it wasn't that much of a pressure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Being here for the first time, pressure was there although, but not all that much.
Okay, all right. And where are you now? Do you pursue your science and maths? Because usually there's this argument that most of the times when we are done, we don't really hear of them. But I'm glad I met you today. What have you been up to?
Right now, I'm currently at UMAT.
Okay.
Pursuing mining engineering.
That's great. All right.
Our Father, bless our school, bless our works, and bless our play.
So it's in between easy and difficult. It's not really difficult, but it's not also very easy.
We've gone and we've done our homework on what we thought we weren't able to do. So right now we are coming with our A game on and expect the best from us.
Just as you've heard from the contestants of the National Science and Maths Quiz, they are not here to be spectators, but rather citizens of NSMQ. For Joy News, Jacqueline Answa Yaboa.
And of course, that excitement is on. We will be that media house bringing you all of the action as far as the 2023 National Science and Maths Quiz is concerned. And of course, just stay on the Joy News channel. You'll get all of the action. I'm just wondering which of the schools you're on the lookout for. But my guest in studio will also be telling me about the school he's rooting for. We are all on the lookout for who the next champion is. But I have a big surprise for you in studio. Now, we have something right here. It looks more or less like a barrel. If I open it now, lots of beer will be flowing through this. And that's why we're all excited to be talking about the Oktoberfest Festival, which is happening at the Labadi Beach Hotel. There's lots in store for you that you'll be hearing about very shortly from Mr. George Isi, who's the head of sales and marketing at the Labadi Beach Hotel. Thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
And
it feels good to be back.
Yeah, indeed. Time really flies.
It does,
right?
It does, it does.
The last time I missed the opportunity of tasting this.
You're not missing.
I'm certainly coming for this, and we'll talk about this very shortly. But I'm super excited because you're coming at a very great time. Just over the weekend, you were also awarded.
Yes,
so congratulations.
Yes. Thank you so much.
What happened at the CIMG
events
over the weekend?
Thank you. And wonderful afternoon to your viewers. So for the second time running, when I say second time running, means 2021 and 2022, we've been adjudged CIMG Hospitality Facility of the Year.
How do you do that?
Well, it all boils down to the hard work, the commitment on the part of the...
And the good beer as well.
and also to mention that the customers out there who keeps believing in us and coming to us all the time, the loyalty over the years, it's really amazing. And so we thank everybody and we dedicate this award to the board of directors who continue to give us the guidance, management with all the implementation of the policies, the staff that are always working hard to ensure that we exceed the expectations of our guests. And to the wonderful customers that keeps coming to us, thank you so much. The CIMG Hospitality Facility of the Year Award is dedicated to you.
And this will mean that more and more people will be coming expecting more from you. To whom much is giving, much is expected.
That is
How's this award motivating you to do more, actually?
Well, you know, it keeps inspiring us to know that whatever you're doing, people are watching. They are observing, and that really puts us in the position to really bring ourselves as relevant as possible when you talk about the market. And so this will mean more hard work on the part of management and staff. And for sure, I have no doubt in the level of zeal, in the level of commitment on the part of staff and management. And certainly, we will achieve even higher feats.
And we're starting with the Oktoberfest. Let's talk about it then. Last year, I'm sure many people missed the opportunity.
Yes.
This year, we're looking forward to having more and more people join us. But for the benefit of those who did not listen to the conversation when we brought it up the first time, there's a question about Oktoberfest and what's so unique about it, by the way.
Well, thanks again. Oktoberfest is very, very unique. So we're talking a German culture, a German festival that was introduced in 1810. And if you consider this year as one of the years that we're celebrating, and we're talking about a festival that is as old as 213 years. No, it started as a royal celebration for the crown prince and then the princess that got married. Subsequently, every year, now the people of Munich in Germany were invited to feast, and they were invited to be part of the celebration. And so it became like an anniversary celebration, sort of. Then, at a point, they introduced a lot of activities, fun activities. There was horse racing. Then it metamorphosed into an agricultural fair. Then, latter part, we began to see how now the people will now build tents, huge tents. And the list of the tents that you could find at an Oktoberfest beer festival will be a tent that will accommodate about 6,000 people. And
That much.
And mind you, this festival attracts 6 million people globally to Munich in Germany every year. Yes, we have a lot of people who travel to Germany.
So it's a really big...
It's a big one.
The festival.
It's a big one.
You know, there's a question on my mind because when we hear about the Oktoberfest, everyone is excited. There's so much zeal and people looking forward to it. But then we have, you know, a section of Ghanaians who would say, okay, it's about beer. So, I mean, if we are going presumptively, you would say it's about alcohol. But how about the non-alcoholic options for just those who want to come and also join the celebration?
Absolutely, you're right. I think we are not oblivious of the fact. I mean, it's not everybody that takes alcohol. I've always said that I don't drink beer, but I do not deny myself of the opportunity to be part of the fun and also to experience the cultural aspect of the festival.
So there's more to it.
There's more to it. And those who do not drink beers are going to, whether it's wine, whether it's any non-alcoholic cocktails, or those who are whiskey lovers, lovers, those who are champagne, Prosecco lovers are going to have them in abundance. And so even though the name suggests that it's the beer festival, there are no restrictions to what kind of beverages you can have. So we have them in abundance, but traditionally it's German food and German beers. We know the Germans love their beers, and it's their culture, it's their how do you call it, festival. So what we see this to be is also part of promoting cultural tourism. You know, tourism is diverse. We talk about the food and then the waste, the lifestyle of the people and everything. And this is what we are doing. And Blessed, I think authorities must begin to look at a festival that has really developed into this big event. And we have all the Ojures, we have all the coup festivals and everything. And I think it's about time we began to look at it from that point.
Since you're talking about culture, is there a dress code for this event?
You know, this is a German festival. Typically, you see the men will be in their lederhosen. And then the women will be in their Bavarian dental.
Here in Ghana.
But yes, you have those who are familiar and they have them, so they will come in those dresses. But there are no restrictions. People, I mean, you just need to be comfortable in your dressing, whatever it is, because these are high-end people in the society. You're talking about ambassadors, you're talking about high commissioners, the diplomatic corps, captains of industry who really want to have fun, who want to be part of it. And you know, tonight the band is arriving from Germany.
Oh, that's the spice to it.
Yes, the Bayern Boys band. I'll just be at the airport to receive them. They are all fired up for 2 days of excitement, 2 days of beautiful people coming together, 2 days of networking, 2 days of traditional German food, beer, and what have you.
Let's take
the three numbers. Yes, 0302 772501.
Right.
And there's a 0244 747670. And then 0249 532-866.
So if you missed the contacts, you can just move to Labadi Beach Hotel.
Absolutely.
You'll get every information you want on that. Technically, you're telling us it's free. That's all you're telling us. But you're saying it in a very nice way.
In a nice way.
Because the diplomats will be there and all the big people in the country will be there.
Yeah, certainly. But
you know, this
let me
well.
emphasize, though, that, I mean, you pay for your food and drinks when you come.
Exactly.
It is very, very important. You see, people are comfortable standing, but some also do get there without any prior arrangement, and then if they really want to have a seat. The reason why we're asking and encouraging that you call, so we can actually...
We can find a good space for you.
Exactly, because you're going to be there from 6 p.m. to midnight. And I tell you, when it's getting to midnight and the fun keeps increasing, that's where people don't want to leave.
Yeah.
So this is something that you can take yourself out. We entreat everybody to be part of Oktoberfest.
Any message for our viewers? Any...
Thank you. This year, we're very privileged. We've had the opportunity to have partners. Brussels Airlines are on board as sponsors. They're bringing back the band is coming. And so thank you so much to Brussels Airlines. Shout outs to the local team here and then also the team in the head office. And then also we have Morris TV, who have also come to give it, to support us with coverage. Morris TV and Net2, they've also come on board to support us. And of course, to Multimedia.
We're here. You can't leave us out.
Multimedia Group. I mean, thank you so much for pushing it, for the support over the years. And we look forward to great 2 nights of excitement on Friday and Saturday.
Okay then. So that's George AC, Head of Sales and Marketing at the Labadi Beach Hotel. There's a curious question though about this.
Yes.
What happens if I drink all of this in one night?
Know, someone can just do even 2. Okay. Someone can do 2 of these.
And then you're gone.
Yeah. So there is a popular phrase that we have in Oktoberfest. We say walk in, crawl out.
Oh, I see. You will be crawling out, so you need to be cautious about
crawl
that.
Out.
When
and
you're
then
walking.
one other one that we say is that come for the beer, stay for the cheer.
I see. Amazing. And of course, it will be a good time at the Labadi Beach Hotel. You need to be there. George, thank you.
Thank you so much, Blessed, for having me. Thank you.
We're taking a break. We'll be back. Staying with us now, parents are being advised to inculcate their children with the habit of reading in order to promote literary education. Already the Ghana Education Service in the Birim North District say they plan to set up more reading clubs in partnership with the non-profit group in Tiawa Foundation, which will aim to promote the reading culture amongst young peoples within the district. There's more in this report.
Literacy is a key component of Ghana's education curriculum, as almost all education activities and assessment rely heavily on the ability to read and write. However, some rural communities in Ghana have grappled with the challenge of accessing educational materials that will promote the habit of reading and writing. In a bid to reverse this trend, the Intiamwa Foundation says it is set out to promote partnerships that will help inculcate the culture of reading amongst young pupils. Birim North District Education Director Charles Apia tells Joy News that joining reading clubs will help children to improve their ability to read and write. He is also urging parents to allow the awards to participate in such exercises.
We want to pledge our support towards the realization of the vision of this foundation in forming the reading clubs. We are there as a directory to support them to realize their vision. And we are going to do this to ensure that it becomes fully established, the clubs. One want to include reading clubs activities in our usual monitoring activities. So officially we are going to include that in our monitoring activities. And then we are going to incorporate reading clubs activities into our timetable. We are going to formalize it and make it part of our timetable. We are going to step up membership drive into the reading clubs, whip up the interest of the community members to send their awards to join the clubs.
Some of the coordinators have been sharing their views with Joy News.
Although we were running the club in our schools, but then coming here, we've been enlightened on so many things, especially the sign languages that goes with the alphabet and the sounds, everything. It's been a lot. We've totally eradicated the phobia in learning English, especially when it comes to reading. It was a norm that when the pupils get to JHS, they find it very difficult to read, so therefore they'll just scrap away English. But now, since we've put in games and other interesting things, the people are getting the interest in English, all thanks to Intiamwa Foundation. This workshop has opened wider insight to learning more in making the club a stagnant one in our schools.
Help me to know the letter sound and their signs.
This workshop, I have learned more things such as the multiplication, sounds, and how to remove words from mother words.
Project Manager Shiva Opong Banahine, while underscoring the importance of literacy, added that the Intiamwa Foundation will work towards sustaining the literacy project.
What the Reading Club is doing is bringing kids who are struggling or even doing well to improve their skills. We're not only doing that, we've employed the strategy of gamification. Because I remember when we were young, games were part of learning. We had learning games. Games that talked about general knowledge, like the count your berries. You would ask, give me the names of countries, names of fruit, colors. Whilst you're playing, you were learning. We had multiplication games, spelling games, active listening games. That's what we are employing as part of our reading program, because we think that if the kid is excited about all the learning games, reading becomes more fun. When they come across those words, it's easier to pronounce them when they open a book. And that's the whole essence of what the Reading Club program is.
And our Sky Girls, a multimedia girl empowerment program by Girls for Girls, has stressed its resolve to impact more girls across the country through partnerships in collaboration with the Ghana Education Service. Sky Girls Ghana organized a stakeholder engagement forum where stakeholders actually engaged in discussions towards enriching such programs in Ghana by establishing relationships and partnerships with like-minded organizations to increase efforts which impact the youth, especially teenage girls in Ghana.
Sky Girls, a multimedia empowerment program for girls, has stressed its resolve to impact more girls across the country at a stakeholder engagement forum. Project manager of Sky Girls Ghana, Ya Krantima Boateng, shed light on the essence of partnerships and the need for more interventions for young girls in Ghana.
So Sky is a multimedia empowerment
program by girls for girls. We were launched in Ghana in 2017, so we've been in Ghana for the span of 6 years. Sky was initially created for an anti-tobacco campaign due to the high rise of girls developing interest in tobacco with misconceptions, but now we have expanded to incorporate other issue areas like adolescent reproductive health, like STEM, like financial literacy and career choices. We have a behavioral change model that has worked for us, so we use that as a case study to set the tone for more discussions, to foster more collaborations in Ghana for the teenage girls.
Some teenage girls from the Sky Girls Ghana community shared their experiences and the benefits of Sky Girls.
How I started my beadwork, I started when I was 13 in my previous school. So with the beadwork, it wasn't public, but Sky made it public for me through the magazines and their social media platforms, and I got other job offers through Sky because people saw my artwork and I would want to recommend stuff from me for me to be able to sell to other people who'd want it.
When I joined Sky Girls, I didn't really know what shisha was because I see people smoke shisha and all they tell me is shisha is just a flavor, blah 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 blah. So when I got into Sky Girls, one day we were having a group chat, then our Sky big sister posted in the group that shisha contains this and this and this, it harms the system, it causes damage, it's like the weed and the cigarettes we smoke. So that was when I got to know that shisha wasn't good because I didn't know.
National Science and Maths Quiz Mistress, Professor Elsie Ifa Kaufman, also a Sky woman in STEM, was a recipient of an award for her contribution to the Sky magazine and a role model to the girls in STEM.
I didn't think to say no, but it isn't me, I'm an advocate of it. And if you're doing anything to support STEM, and to encourage our young ladies to participate, because we're usually underrepresented, especially where I come, in Nigeria. It was something I found a way to do. I cannot expect to receive recognition for that because I do that all the time. So at this event and this surprise, I want to say a huge thank you.
A representative from Ghana Education Service, Stephanie Mreku Asante, also spoke about Sky Girls' support in the educational system.
My role as a safeguarding consultant for Sky Ghana provided support to Sky Ghana team in capacity building and ensured that concerns from girls were handled appropriately in line with safeguarding policy best practices. Through the GES partnership with Sky Ghana, we were able to strengthen a sense of community among teenage girls in schools. After 6 years of collaborating with Sky Ghana team, our observations are as follows. A reduction in smoking shisha among teen girls, in school girls and out of school, within the wage area Sky activated. An improvement in girls' abilities to share their challenges and seek for help where necessary.
Well, that's all we have for you in this package of the polls. I am Blessed, so go and log on to myjoyonline.com. Lots of stories there for you. We'll see you again. Bye-bye.